I will put this up for debate. Chewing on the knife scene, or when he's chewing on his own arm and peeling off the skin scene. I thought the chewing of the arm was harder to watch, in my opinion.
So I don't disagree with you, but for me, for the chewing on the knife, it is just the teeth against the knife blade and that nails on chalkboard sound of the knife raking back and forth that makes it physically harder to watch. The scene where he's chewing on his arm, probably, I guess, worse, but
it's the one peel where you see the line of skin on the, oh man, that was rough.
Welcome in, everybody, to another HTGS review. In fact, this is probably our last horror movie review of the year. So we are going to do it with one of the movies that probably could be in some people's top 3. We'll talk about it throughout this. We're going to be covering Bring Her Back. I am your host, Rob Coakley, joined as always by Dave Wilkins.
Hello, Rob Coakley.
Jesse is here as well. And I'm excited to talk about this one because I watched it a few months ago and I thought we had already reviewed this, because I feel like if I watch a movie for anything, it's generally to review it. So when you were like, we should review this movie, I said to myself, I think we already have. But no, it was just an internal review that I did after watching it. So I'll say everything publicly now here. But before we do, as always, Dave, can you bring her back with a synopsis for us, please?
I sure can. Bring Her Back, 2025, directed by the Philippou brothers. Andy and his sister Piper face unsettling events while living with their foster mother Laura and her weirdo son Ollie, whose grief and secrets draw them into a chilling supernatural ordeal. So this is the Philippou brothers' second movie. They also did Talk to Me, which I think was 2 years ago or so. And I really enjoyed that. So I was excited for this one. And this one, just for the record, we're going to spoil it. I have to tell you that. We always spoil the movies that we review, but we always tell you ahead of time because we are considerate when we spoil our movies. So this was another one. It felt like it had a similar kind of vibe to it as Talk to Me. It had sort of a very bleak, probably more bleak than Talk to Me, and but the tone felt kind of the same. And I think that that's one thing that these two guys really do well, is the tone of their movies always feel right, and it always adds an extra layer of horror. This movie was terrifying, and for lots of different reasons that I'm looking forward to getting into.
Yeah, I remember watching through this the first time and just being like, thinking that it had that vibe to it. I mean, obviously it's the same director, so you sometimes see that just in the way things are shot. But the feeling of this movie, I think I felt more dread in this movie for sure than their other one. It was a lot of like tensing up and be like, please don't do that. And
yeah, there were a couple of scenes in particular where I cringed, not cringe like out of embarrassment, cringe because like, oh, that looks like it hurts.
Yeah.
And this one, I feel like it also had a different layer of horror that Talk to Me didn't have, which isn't a knock on Talk to Me. They're just different movies. They're different stories.
Right.
Whereas Talk to Me was very supernatural, and all of the horror on that was supernatural. Whereas this movie it had supernatural elements, but the main horror was actually not supernatural. It was a very real circumstance that could happen to real people. And that's being in a foster home with an abusive foster parent.
Yeah. And abusive she was. This movie, dude, I don't even know like how to start for this review, because there's so many good things to talk about in this movie, and it had my attention from start to finish, first of all, because it was just doing different things. The scene with the father in the shower coming back a few times, like it's not a focal point of the movie, but like it's used so well when they use that in here.
I would say just on that, it is a focal point of the movie. It is not the focal point of the movie.
Okay, that's I guess that is more correct to say. Like, but just saying like it's not overdone in the sense that like they're beating you over the head with that, but like when they use it, it's used effectively,
very effectively,
pretty much every single time. So like that whole scene is insanely
so scary every time they referenced that scene. Towards the end, that one last time they referenced it in particular was frightening.
Yeah.
They really did. They were effective with their use of that scene in this. So I guess to really kick this review off, just to give kind of just a basic idea what the story is, just for people who haven't seen the movie that like to watch our reviews without watching the movie. This is one that if you don't like disturbing things, I would say probably don't go watch this one, because it is a pretty disturbing movie. There's some disturbing imagery. There's some disturbing scenarios and situations in this movie. So basically the story is you have a teenage son and his half sister who's younger, and she's blind, and they live with their father, but he passes away, dies in the shower, and they have to go into foster care. So the teenager technically didn't have to go into foster care. He was old enough to live on his own, but not old enough to be a guardian of his sister. So they were originally going to split them up, but he begged them not to. So they put them both in with this woman, and the woman is, right away you notice something's off. There's another kid there. His name's Ollie, much younger kid, and he doesn't speak, but he's real weird. There's just something off about him. So that's kind of like the setting for the movie. And
the one thing I'll add to that is the foster mother definitely wanted the daughter, but she had no interest in the older kid. But when she reluctantly took him because she knew she couldn't get the young girl without the older one coming.
Right. And not only did she not want him, she made him know that she didn't want him there.
Yes.
Right away.
Immediately.
In a very ham-fisted way. She wasn't subtle. She was very explicit about how she didn't want him there. She didn't come out and say, "I don't want you here," but she might as well have.
Yeah. It was like calling him the wrong name, basically just not even acknowledging his existence for the most part in the beginning. So it was putting him in a position to be completely uncomfortable in a place that's supposed to be his new home.
Yep. And he was a great actor. And the girl who played his half sister was a really good actor as well. Fantastic. The lady who played Laura, the foster mother, was really good acting in this all around. I thought the characters were really well written also. The dialogue was good. And they did a good job of portraying the relationship between the brother and sister, and it felt authentic. So that's all those things really worked together and helped this movie be as effective as it was, I think.
And not only that, but like just building, they did such a good job of building the backstory of the brother and sister and their family throughout the movie, and understanding that family dynamic. Like they didn't just hit you with a ton of like exposition in the first 5 minutes about the family. It sort of gets weaved in throughout the entire story as other things are going on. So it gives you a better understanding throughout the movie rather than just being like, here's what happened there, and then we're going to this. Like I thought that the narrative of weaving that in worked way more effectively than if they had just given us like flashback scenes in the beginning leading up to them becoming foster kids.
That's a great point. It's a really good example of how you can do character development without stupid exposition dumps. And this is a great example of exactly that.
Yeah, they did a great job of this because they didn't do that at all, even when it came to how she was turning these things into, like how she was, I don't even know what she was doing, some sort of witchcraft or whatever, but you never really got a full explanation of what was going on. You were just, the whole time you watched the movie, you're just led to figure it out by yourself, which is great because it's almost like demeaning, or I don't know if that's the right word for it, but when movies do this, where they just take a moment to explain everything that you already know is happening, it's like, listen, I'm not dumb. Like I've got to, condescending would be a better word for that. Like in this movie did it wonderfully, and they were able to do that through some great writing. I mean, I have like very little to say about this movie negatively. For the most part. I mean, it's disturbing, but it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
For the most part, I mean, the pacing on this movie was perfect. The gore was necessary, but good and over the top at times. It was just unsettling the entire time. It was pulled together by great acting. I thought across the board, I thought that, what's her name? Sally Hawkins, who played Laura. I thought she was cast absolutely perfectly. She was very welcoming and nice, to Piper when she came in, and you could tell that she really wanted her to stay, and to a point where Piper really doesn't figure out anything is wrong in this house until very late in the movie. Yeah. And it helps Laura's case that, Piper is blind because she can't see how messed up things are with Oliver in the movie. And so she isn't seeing exactly what her brother is seeing because she's not seeing anything at all. And I believe the actress actually who played Piper, Sora Wong, I think she's at least partially blind. So they cast an actress who, I think she's blind in one eye, or she might be fully blind, but I'm pretty sure she's partially blind. So, that worked with the movie, obviously. And dude, this movie was crazy. Just paced well, acted well, written well.
To go back to the thing where you were bringing up, like, you like that they didn't dumb it down for the audience. I completely agree with that. I just think it's unfortunate that there's usually a large section of the audience that you have to do that for. So when movies are willing to step away from dumbing it down, it always makes me happier, because people don't want to figure things out. It's not even necessarily that people are dumb. It's that they want to sit down and they just want to be told everything. They don't want to, it's the equivalent of the people that buy a video game and the first thing they do is, all right, let me watch a YouTube playthrough so I know how to do everything. It's like, you're not exploring the game. You're not learning things on your own. And people just want to be handed like the answers to everything rather than exploring the movie sometimes. So when a writer and a director are willing to take the chance to alienate a little bit of the audience in order to give a better movie experience, it's generally like just a better experience for those people that are looking for that, if that makes sense.
It worked in this movie for two different reasons. Number one is what you guys are already talking about. You don't get the stupid exposition dump where they just tell us everything. It's the, people, like you said, the audience, the general audience kind of wants everything like tied up in a neat little package and said, here's your movie. This didn't do that. And it was effective because you didn't have to get the stupid exposition dump, number one. And number two, the ambiguity of what was going on, not really knowing exactly what it was and kind of having to piece it together for yourself, made it more uncomfortable, made it scarier, and made the end more wanting, right? So I think that all works perfectly in a movie like this, where it's just you feel like you're missing something in a good way, where it's like, what was that? What could that have been? And it kind of leaves it open for interpretation. Like, was she just crazy, or is this an actual supernatural ritual that would have worked? You don't really know. You kind of like left to sort of figure that out for yourself, because it hinted in different areas that there is something supernatural going on, or maybe it could be something just psychological due to trauma. So you have all these things that you have to kind of work out yourself, and it leaves it to the viewer to put all that together. And I think that works better for a more unsettling product, because this is a very unsettling movie. So it works perfectly.
Yeah, I thought it was towards the end, it was pretty clear. I mean, it was pretty clear right away to me anyways, that there was something supernatural going on with some sort of witchcraft and spells that she was doing to try to get this child to forget who he actually was. He was a missing kid, this Ollie character, and to get him to just believe that he is her child. And clearly something is going wrong here, right?
But so like they set the stage that she was that she believed there was a supernatural thing ritual that she was doing, and they hinted that it could be supernatural, but left it open that it might not be. It could have all been psychological. What do you do? How does a kid that age who's experiencing that level of trauma react, right? When he crosses the white line, he has a seizure. Is that because there's something supernatural going on? Is there really a spell? Or has he been brainwashed to think that if he crosses that he's actually that actual fear manifests as pain, right? Who knows?
I kind of took it as, and this is up for interpretation. So you're right, and that's interesting that you'd bring that up. But for me, it was like she seemed to be just kind of new at this. Like she was dabbling with it. You kind of got hints of that when the social worker came to the house to just check on things and make sure everything was all right. And she kind of let the cat out of the bag, and she started panicking. And once the social worker noticed that she was bleeding because of the injuries that she got from Ollie, she had said like, "Oh, I found a way to bring her back or whatever, and like it's working, and I could do this. And she's just in full panic mode." But it struck me as, okay, she's trying these like dark witchcraft rituals to do whatever her goal was, and it wasn't working with Ollie. Ollie was becoming less and less predictable. He wasn't listening to her when he normally would listen to her. He was becoming extremely violent. You saw it right away with the cat, which is a disturbing scene. You saw it in the worst scene I've ever watched, which was him chewing on the knife. And then it was continuing to spiral, and you could see him declining as the movie went on. He just was getting these crazy eyes, and he was, he looked almost like a normal kid in the beginning, but the eyes are getting more bloodshot, and things are just going poorly. So I think she was so eager to get someone new to try this on. So she gets Piper, and it's kind of a perfect scenario for her because she's blind. But the one X factor is she's got to deal with her older brother. And I think that's what it was. I think she had realized that it's not working with Ollie. So now she's got a new girl to come in, and she's going to try to do the same thing with her. That's how I took it as anyways.
Oh, I have a different interpretation of that. And I don't know if you have a third interpretation, Dave. Obviously you like so that it could be not supernatural. I thought Ollie was the test subject, and I thought that she was successful with Ollie, but wasn't doing it with her daughter. Wasn't trying to replace the daughter with Ollie. I thought that Ollie was like a cat or an animal or something that she had tried it on first, and it worked. So then she was bringing in the new one to use on the daughter.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe that's why he was so kind of feral.
That was my interpretation of
acting like such an. That's an interesting one. Good point.
Because I thought they always were showing the parallels of the cat.
Yeah, maybe, and you got him like chewing on tables
because they go to eat the body, right? Like after the old body, once that ritual's done, and he's trying to eat the cat.
Interesting. Yeah, you might be right about that.
That was my interpretation, anyways. And again, like you said, there's so many different ways you could take this.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good take. I hadn't considered that, but yeah, that makes sense. But again, this is why I think I like the fact that we didn't get a big, reveal, right? They kind of just left it all up for us to sort of figure out, and I think that's just one way to make a horror movie more unsettling. So,
before I forget, I'd like to point out my one problem with this movie. Okay. I literally only have one. This was in the beginning of the movie when they're first pulling up to the Foster house, and he hits the little tree stump, like accidentally runs over it. And he goes out to check out the damage on the car, and there's damage onto the front bumper, but also the driver's side view mirror had just fallen off. How? Why? That wouldn't have fallen off from that kind of accident.
Could have.
How?
It could have been broken before, and then he'd kind of just jerry-rigged it back on. So when he ran over that little stone wall thing, that it just fell off. Wasn't a stump, by the way.
That would be another. I mean, they would have had to. It was a tree stump, wasn't it?
No, it was a little like stone wall.
Let's go back and watch that.
I remember it because I remember thinking, oh, our friend Alan did the exact same thing when we moved into that apartment in Bridgewater.
Oh yeah, we all just sat back. Like he was like new to driving, but like way too old. I don't even know how old he was. 22, 23 years old. Finally got his driver's license. Terrible at driving. Yeah, manages to. I think while we were moving out, managed to he was backing his car out of a very straight driveway and managed to cut through the yard and then mount his car on top of a stone wall. And we all just sat back. We're like,
we laughed, and he got so mad at us for laughing. It's like, it's not funny. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's hilarious. If the wall is 3 feet tall and your car is at a 45-degree angle, that's objectively funny.
oh, that wasn't what we sat back and watched. It was, we'll move on from this, but it was, he was trying to fit a piece of furniture that was way too big to fit into his back seat.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't go give him a hand. We're just watching like, that's never going to fit. Let's just watch him do this. And like, he tried to like go around the other side and pull it through as if that was going to help at all. Like the thing was just way too big to fit in his back seat. Anyways, everyone knows what we're talking about.
We're the worst because we had another friend one time that, well, friend's a loose term. We don't talk to him anymore, but we were all playing basketball and he was coming to play basketball with us. And we just watched him get into a head-on collision. And we were like, huh. And we just kept playing basketball.
To be fair, like it wasn't as bad as you just made it sound. Like he blew through a stop sign and T-boned a painting thing. And he immediately got out of the car. I was like, oh my God. So we're like, he's fine. Whatever. Let's keep playing. It was once we realized he was okay. He was also like the tallest person among us and the absolute worst basketball player I've ever seen.
It was impressive.
Sorry, Mark, if you're watching this.
So that was the one negative you had with the movie.
That's
it. Fine. It's fine, I guess. I also did think when it happened, I was like, that's on the wrong side. So maybe
it also wasn't the area of the car that was affected in the accident.
Yeah. You hit something, things can get rattled loose. Who knows? It's not taking points off for that one.
I am.
But you had already referenced the most horrific scene in this movie. So I want to go back to it because this was the one scene in the movie that I mentioned earlier that made me physically cringe, not because of him being embarrassed, but because of how brutal it was. And he's the foster mother and Piper leave to go whatever to her dancing class or whatever it is. And so Andy is home with Ollie. And Ollie's locked in the room. He's not supposed to come out of the room. But Andy feels bad. So he's like, come on, you hungry? You're hungry. I'll make you a sandwich. So he brings him into the kitchen. And he's got this big kitchen knife. And he cuts the bread or whatever and puts the knife down, turns around to get something out of the fridge. And then he hears this like rattling sound behind him. And he turns around and Ollie is just chewing on the knife, blade digging into the teeth, blood everywhere. And then he grabs it and pulls it. And you hear the slicing against the teeth, and it like slices.
It was awful. But there was a little bit of a problem with this one. Was when I think it was actually a melon that he was slicing. So he sliced a piece of I think it was a melon, cantaloupe actually, if I remember correctly, because it looked like bread at first. Right. And he slices into it, and then he hands him the piece of melon while it's on the knife, which is not how you should hand fruit to a child.
No.
First problem. Second problem, Ollie grabs the knife by the blade to take a bite of it. And Andy is just like, oh, no, you don't want to do that. And then he just lets go. And he's like, he's got the knife now. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I think so first of all, two things you shouldn't do with a child. Number one, hand them the food knife first. Second of all, when he grabs hold of that knife by the blade, you don't just let him have that knife.
No.
3, don't run him over with a lawnmower.
Also, don't do that. That didn't happen in this movie, but it happened in my life.
These are all things that an adult and more specifically a parent would understand you don't do. We're talking about a dumb teenager here.
No, he's too old to make that mistake, especially when he witnessed Ollie strangling a cat. There's something wrong with this kid. This isn't the first sign of Ollie being a little messed up.
This is not a kid that you have the knives out around.
I have 2 kids this exact age. Now, I don't think they would do that, but if I found out they did, I would be like, yeah, my bad. We're working on it.
We're working on it.
No, there was some flaws. Anyways, he's too old for that, and he's also an older brother who's very protective of his sister. He's a good brother. He's obviously going to be more careful than other brothers are because his sister is blind. So he's going to be always watching out for sharp objects and making sure that, she's going to be okay. He's been doing that for her entire life. So No, I call BS on that because he's already in a protective role. He wasn't that young, and yeah, and he works out a lot.
Yeah. So there's what I will say about this scene is after this very traumatic thing happened, they didn't drop the ball and then just move on from it, right? Like there's so many horror movies where they have like a traumatic scene happen and then everyone kind of just moves on as if that thing didn't just happen. It's like, wait a minute, this scene played out exactly as I think it would in a real life situation. He acted so well, showing panic and terror, and just he runs out the house with it, and it was
yeah,
well
he
done.
tries to get him to a hospital, which
Yeah,
is
it was-
but you're right. In other movies, they would completely fly over that, and then it's just on to the next scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, he react, and that's when you first see the white line or whatever, and they cross over, and bad things happen. So you're right about that.
Yeah, there's so many dumb horror movies where they try and like they show something horrible and then like yeah. Anyways, so
Okay, so I will put this up for debate next, which is now this movie was full of like really hard to watch scenes that
Yeah.
physically make you wince. And again, if you're not into gore or like brutal movies or violence against, I mean, nobody's into violence against kids, but if those kind of movies put you off, don't watch this movie. It is probably the best horror movie of the year, in my opinion, so far. And it's up there with some of the greats, I think, because of, again, everything, all of the major points. It's written wonderfully, shot wonderfully, it's intense, it's acted perfectly. There's not a single actor in this movie that I was like, that wasn't that good. So I think everything across the board was really good, but it is a really brutal movie. So I will put this up for debate. Chewing on the knife scene, or when he's chewing on his own arm and peeling off the skin scene. I thought the chewing of the arm was harder to watch, in my opinion.
So I don't disagree with you, but for me, for the chewing on the knife, it is just the teeth against the knife blade and that nails on chalkboard sound of the knife raking back and forth that makes it physically harder to watch. The scene where he's chewing on his arm, probably, I guess, worse, but
it's the one peel where you see the line of skin on the, oh man, that was rough.
Yeah,
that was rough. But yeah, I will say with the teeth scene, so both are absolutely brutal. The sound design in this movie, they've nailed this. They nailed this in Talk to Me, and they nailed it in this movie. Just the sound effects and just with how loud the sound effects are in gory and intense, bone cracking, skin peeling moments. Like it was designed really well. So the sound design was perfect in this movie as well.
Yeah, but they don't need to like only do gore to make you not want to watch the screen.
Wait, Rob, we didn't get your vote. Which scene do you think was more brutal?
I guess I would just go with the knife scene just because they're both really brutal. But
yeah, I wanted to bring them both up, but I actually think I am on the knife scene side as well, even if I've just contradicted myself. It is mainly because of when they pulled the knife out part. I was like, that was, oh god, the gums, man. Those are so good. My gums bleed like that when I floss sometimes.
That means you don't floss enough.
That's what I heard, but I floss every day. Sometimes I just bleed.
But they don't need to do gore to do a scene that makes you not want to watch the screen, because there's a scene at the funeral where she's trying to get him to kiss his dad's corpse. She's like, give him a kiss, and he's like, nah, I'm good. And she's like trying to force him to.
Tradition. Yeah.
And I was just like, this is just as unsettling as like the knife scene to me. Like, because like, what do you do in this situation? Like, why is no one helping him? Like, it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, she was a really well-written character in the sense of being a manipulator and a gaslighter. Specifically that scene, also specifically the scene where she was making him think that he was wetting himself at night.
My God, dude. I was like watching that. I'm like, because I actually thought that's what happened after a certain point. I'm like, but I didn't think it was the way she was doing it. Like, I was just like, I think she's like pouring water on him or something. And then like, I was like, no, this is even worse.
So gross.
was so gross.
It's so weird. No, it was a masterfully written character because in the very beginning, like you expect it. You're like, okay, these kids are going to a foster home. This is a horror movie. She's going to be abusive. But at first, like she was so convincing as like a nice lady and just so happy to have everyone there. And you get introduced to Ollie being like a absolute monster right away that you're like, okay, maybe this movie is going to be, because again, I didn't watch any trailers on this. Maybe this movie is actually going to be that she's willfully blind towards Ollie's case, and Ollie's going to be the bad guy of this movie. Which, I mean, he very much was still like an absolute monster the whole movie, and you always got to be watching out for him. And but he
wasn't the bad guy.
Yeah, again, it was paced wonderfully because you realize pretty quickly that something bad's happening here.
Yeah. Were you guys expecting? I mean, we gotta get through a few more things here, but like, were you expecting the death of Andy in this movie?
No. Nope, caught me off guard, which is the best. It's just the best thing that it's a movie that has balls, right? When writers, they're not catering to the general audience, they're not afraid to shock you, to disappoint you, and to, rip your heart out. When you're the character you thought was the main character, that you think you have a protagonist and you're following them, and then 3/4 of the way through the movie, they kill him in the most brutal fashion. That was such a shocking scene.
It was because he was the main character, right? It was following him through the vast majority of the movie.
I tricked you into thinking that. I think that the protagonist was Piper.
Right. Well, that's where I was about to go. Was I thought that Piper had plot armor the entire movie. She was too vulnerable to get killed in this movie, and I was like, "There's no shot she dies." So I wasn't actually that surprised when he died, but I was not surprised when she survived the movie, even when she was getting drowned at the end. Like you knew that she was going to survive that.
Well,
I think they did a good job in when they killed off what we thought was the protagonist up until the point where they killed him off. That was a good way of masking the fact that she was actually the protagonist, which is a good way of doing plot armor, right? Because you can't have a movie where you can have a movie where everyone gets killed, and sometimes that's fine. But if you're writing a story where this is your character and this character survives at the end, but you don't want it to be obvious that they're going to survive, a way to kind of mask the plot armor would be do it exactly the way they did. Build up a character who you think is the protagonist, kill them off 3/4 of the way through the movie, and then reveal who the real protagonist is, and then you don't feel so
kind of. But I mean, his job through the whole movie was protect Piper.
Yeah, but that's why he could have lived, though, dude. Like he could have. The way they could have ended this movie, an alternate ending is he lives, she's successful in killing Piper, and he takes the fall for it.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? Like that's a whole nother way. So like,
I didn't have a big problem with the ending, honestly. Like the ending shot of her just cradling her daughter's corpse in the pool. I don't know what part of the pool they were in, because it kind of looked like the middle. So was she floating with the corpse? Was there a pool floaty?
Maybe the pool. I don't know.
Was she Jesusing at the end? I don't know, but I don't know. Whatever. I actually didn't really have too much of a problem with the end of the movie. It was dark. It was twisted. Ollie was in really rough shape, but I liked seeing Ollie come back to himself, and he saw the missing persons poster, which you knew was going to come into play.
Mm-hmm.
Fell out of the car. You knew Ollie was going to see that. So it was it, dude. What a wild ride.
Yeah, this was. If you can stomach movies like this, it's definitely worth a watch.
This one's brutal. We didn't even talk about some of the more disturbing scenes. We talked about two of the disturbing scenes, but there was another one where the person, what do you call him? The person who's in charge of placing the kids in the foster care from the beginning of the movie.
Like the social worker.
Yeah, Wendy, when she gets called and she's like, I gotta go, and she knows the foster mother there, or she thinks she knows her, and she goes to the house to check on everything, and it all kind of falls apart, and then she runs outside to go see what Andy is talking about, and they go out to the shed, and then you get the scene of the dead daughter propped up in the cooler there. Yeah. And there's one scene in particular where they show they show Ollie, who is going through his ritual where he's eating the face of the corpse of the dead daughter. And
Yeah,
pretty,
it was
pretty
pretty rough.
disturbing stuff.
Pretty rough. But I don't think a single one of us here thought that the social worker was going to survive that visit to the house.
No, but
No.
I didn't. We knew she was going to get it. I didn't expect Andy to get it also.
I thought she was going to get like shotgunned in the back of the head on the way out or something like that. I wasn't really expecting the car to take her out, but yeah, it was a wild ride. Shall we hop into some scores here?
I think we should.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a solid 4 or 5. Like, I don't really have any negatives for this movie for the most part. I don't think it's so tough for me to give anything a 5, but like, this movie does so many things well, and it's a tough watch. But if you can watch these movies, well worth the watch. Some great acting, great gore, great psychological stuff going on in this movie. It does a lot of things well. It's probably in my top 3 for the year. Like, if I sat there and thought about it, I Sinners is still 1 for me, but this is up there.
I got this one. I really wanted to knock off a point for the mirror thing, but it's such a goofy thing to take points off for. So I'm just going to go ahead and give this one a 5. I can't think of a single thing that I would have done better with this movie. I thought it was it held your attention the entire time. I have no issues. I mean, the effects were great. It seemed like mostly practical effects. They do something, man. These directors with their contact lenses on the actors or whatever, like, they do eyeballs terrifyingly.
Yeah.
So overall, yeah, I'm just gonna put this one at a 5. I can't think of a reason not to.
I'm actually with you. I think I'm a 5 on this as well, just because if this is a horror movie, it hits all the points of a horror movie. This was a horrifying movie. This is definitely the scariest movie of the year. You know, I like Sinners also. It's in my it's a top one with Sinners. Is it a better movie than Sinners? I don't know if I'd say that, but I will say it's a sure as shit scarier than Sinners. And
100-fold. But Sinners is just such a different kind of movie because it was just like so beautifully written. The music was off the charts.
Right. If we were talking about, if we were rating movies in general, not specifically horror movies, I'd rate Sinners higher. But as a horror movie, this is, I'd probably put this one above it.
Yeah, for sure.
But
a different kind of movie.
Let us know what you thought of Bring Her Back. We will be back next year with more horror movie reviews. Most of you love them. Some of you don't love them, but hopefully we change your tune on that in 2026. We'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.